Chomp.
Hi everybody and welcome back to You Are Supreme Toys. Today we're going to be looking at another San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for 2023, the Black and Gold Dragonzord from Super7. This is going to be our first look at the Dragonzord. He has showed up before the original version, and as you can see, no shipper box. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of the cellophane. Here we have this lovely gold medallion of the Dragonzord symbol with lightning flashing around it. This is more of a black and yellow box compared to the green. And here we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers logo on the back. So let's go ahead and do a slip reveal. All right. And this box is massive. And look at this figure. It looks very nice. It's interesting the way they decide to package out this figure with the tail attached. It just makes the box unnecessarily massive. I feel like they could have had the tail detached in the box and displayed in a certain way that it looks like it's flowing behind him, and cut the size of this package down tremendously. It does have his image on the back of the box art, and it has a bio. The Green Ranger's Zord was a tough opponent against the Power Rangers and the Dino Megazord at first, but following the evil Green Ranger's defeat, the Dragonzord becomes a powerful part of the team, occasionally combining with the other Zords and taking on Rita Repulsa's giant monsters on its own. The Dragonzord is summoned by the Green Ranger's Dragon Dagger, up from the depths off the coast of Angel Grove. Every part of the Dragonzord's body can be used as a weapon, from being able to fire missiles from its fingertips to using the tip of its tail as a drill. So why the gold? Why the black? What's going on here? Alright, well, this is an homage to a previously released version of the Dragonzord. I believe it was released about 10 years ago for the Legacy Collection. It was a Toys R Us exclusive. He was black and gold. That was an homage going back to 93, where they did a black and gold version of the original Dino Megazord. And then that was an homage all the way back to the Chogokin and Poppy era, and in particular I believe it was Ray Dean that was cast in a black plastic with black and gold decals. So this is a reoccurring trend over the last 40-something years, that these giant Japanese robots are presented in an awesome black and gold variation color scheme. So I'm down for that. Firstly, I love giant robots. Secondly, variants that are done well and look good are my cup of tea. So I'm more than thrilled to get this. I have the black and gold Voltron from Super7 on the way, and hopefully they'll continue this nice little variant trend with their other giant robots. So let's go ahead and pop him out. Okay, and here we have him out of the box, and I like this color scheme. I think it looks really good. He stands nearly 9 inches tall, so he is a massive hunk of plastic. I can fit a hand over each leg. That's how big he is. So paint apps, they're not perfect. Bring him in. You can sort of see this slop around his lip up here. I don't really know what's going on with that. Some of the gold paint around the front of his chest is running over into the seams. You know, he's not terrible. The paint apps just aren't perfect. This gold here on the dragon symbol is a little bit sloppy. Very light on paint apps on the tail. As is, he looks perfectly fine. I'm content with this look and the paint apps. Kind of runs over here at the top. He has a big scratch right here on his face. I'm not happy with that. There's a big scratch right there. That's disappointing. He is a very solid top heavy guy, but his tail helps him balance. The tail's a bit wobbly though. So I guess I don't know where to start with articulation. With a figure like this, it's kind of hard to tell where the articulation starts. Of course, he has no head articulation. His jaw does move, so he can go up and down with his jaw. I like that, just not far. His arms have a hinge, and a swivel, but you know, it's only gonna wiggle and hinge. That's about as much articulation as you're gonna get in the arms. That being said, the Dragonzord from the show was pretty limited in range of motion anyway. It's just the design of the beast. Of course, he has swivel and hinged wrists, which is probably the most dynamic you're going to get with his arms, or with these little hands. He does have a waist bobble, which is really good because that's something he did in the show a lot. He bobbled around. Be careful, because I just did a bad. I was wobbling him around, and as I did, I scratched the paint off these two little orbs. Nicked the paint there, and I nicked the paint here, hitting that waist. So, yikes. I don't get why they can't have these joints designed to clearance properly. So be cautious with that. If you wiggle him too far down and too forceful, you are going to scratch that thin paint, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm already upset about that. Well, oh well. Okay. So he's very dynamic at the waist. Just don't pose him, because he's going to scratch the paint. Jesus. Alright, his hips are a bit loose. They're big and chunky, and they're kind of loose. There's a swivel and a hinge. So it sort of swivels, and then there's a hinge. And then there's a thigh twist, too. So you can get a pretty good amount of wiggle and motion out of the thigh. I mean, you can even get his leg up like that, which is impressive, considering the design. I didn't think he was going to have any articulation in the legs, but he's got some pretty good articulation up there, considering it. The knees aren't going to do much. That's about as much as you're going to get out of the knee. However, there is a knee twist, so you can be a little more dynamic. And then this continues down to the feet with actually some pretty good range of motion in these rocker and hinged ankles. So all around, considering how limited his arms are, his leg articulation and his waist articulation is pretty good. Now the tail is a bit iffy, because right away the tail is very loose, but each segment is articulated. So this tail, I don't know why it's so wiggly. It is on a ball joint, and look at that. The tail just popped off, and look at that. Look at that socket. It's like they melted it or something. That looks horrendous. Now, you're not going to see that, but as bad as that looks, that is going to hinder the way the tail moves. I don't know why it looks that bad. That's awful. Let's see if it'll go back on. Oh, gosh, how did it come out? Maybe. I'm actually thinking it wasn't even in the socket. There's no way. This is why it popped out. There's no way that tail was in that socket properly. It was shoved down here in the side against the socket. So they really either messed up the mold for this, or they rushed it out, or this is a defective piece. Wow, that's bad. And that is really firm. I don't think I'm going to even be able to get that in there. Jiminy crickets. Wow. But yeah, it was in the side like that. If it'll snug up in the side, yikes. I'm at a point where I don't know if I want to return this thing or not. That explains why the tail's so loose. Anyway, be cautious of that. Each tail segment is articulated, and I'm starting to think that something's wrong with some of these, because that one is only going partly of the way, and but it's limited in articulation. This piece on the end twists, so he can get a pretty good wide stance and articulation, and then his tail can sort of like come up to the side. Of course, mine's kind of jacked up. He's light on accessories, and I'm kind of glad. He has 2 missile launching hands. He has 2 fists. He has a microscopic Green Ranger, which is painted a little bit better than the first Red Ranger that we got with the Tyrannosaurus. And then he has this giant metal coin. Now, I mentioned this in the review with the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord. The coin is great. I like the coin. But at the same time, I feel like it's unnecessary, and it could have put money towards something else for the figure, or dropping the price of the figure had they not included it. But the Morpher coins are pretty neat, and it's pretty nice that they included them. It's solid metal. It's got the Zord symbol on the back. It does its job of being a coin. So the hands swap out pretty easy, as I've popped them loose a few times already. You're going to put in his missile launching hands if you want. Now, I wish they would have included the missile launching effect. Of course, you could give him fists, which, you know, he doesn't really have a good range of motion to be punching people anyway. I like the hands that came with him in the box. I think they're just fine. Now, there are some differences in paint applications from the original black and gold Dragonzord. For instance, this chest piece is painted silver. The original is all black. I don't think this was silver, but I like what they did. I think the red and gold with a little bit of silver looks good. I think this is a great little variant, and I hope they do more of them. Let's bring in the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord from Wave 1. As you can see, they're roughly the same height. It's just a little bit taller, I think, than the Dragonzord. I think they're going in the right direction so far with this Rangers line. I hope it gets better. That first wave of figures was really iffy, and this has kind of continued. I don't know what the deal is with that tail socket. I wish they would have noticed the waist cut hitting the sculpt. I'm very disappointed in the scratches on this figure and that tail, especially at the price point. It's hard to eat that when it has issues like that. He's not perfect. He is flawed in some respects, but he still looks good, and he'll look good on a shelf. Anyway, this has been an unboxing and review of Super7 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of the Dragonzord in black and gold, and I am UR Supreme Toys. Thank you so much for watching.